Good morning, and welcome to episode 9 of Omar Abedin's Career Path. I am Omar, and today we have reached an intersection, a junction, a crossroads. I started my career in 91, and today we are talking about the year 2010. 20 years in, career professional, marketer, and having fun all over the world. Karachi, Dubai, Jeddah, Montreal, Toronto, back to the UAE. But there's a new deadline approaching, and this deadline is my 40th birthday. In 2010, April, I was going to turn 40. And a very, very long time ago, I had set a benchmark for myself in my mind. I said that I wanted to try my own business, dhanda, as they say in Pakistan, before I turned 40. And, I'd been so busy working and traveling and, having a family and just having fun generally all over the place, that this particular opportunity had been put to the side. But as April 2010 started looming, this created a real sense of discomfort in my gut. I knew that if I didn't do it now, I never would. And I started thinking about what to do. The logical transition was a consulting company. I already had a lot of requests from people to help them with various projects, and I thought I could monetize that pretty well. So in March of 2010, which by the way was still in Dubai, it was still the pandemic was not the pandemic, the global recession was still, the effects were still being felt. And when I told people that I wanted to resign and resign from a very good marketing director position where we'd been having a ball of a time, and start my own business, a lot of my friends thought I was insane. Maybe they were right. Who knows? But the reality is that once you have been bitten by the entrepreneurship bug, it's like an infection in your bloodstream. It's very hard to get it out. And so in March 2010, I quit my job and registered a company called Brand Hotline, built the website, had a couple of clients from day one, and my biggest sense of validation and relief was when one of my very early bosses, Sherazi from Reckitt and Pakistan, you might remember him from episode 2 of this series. He called me up and he said, "Hey, I heard you started your own consulting company. We are going to need some help. Can we work together?" And I was like, "Oh my God, it would be an honor and a privilege to work with you again." So first we started with a training program. If you remember, in the last episode I had mentioned Daniel Adams and the amazing training that he had conducted for the IFCO group marketing team. So basically, I was leveraging those training materials and case studies and content. And I went and did a 5-day training program for Asian Foods, which was the company that Sherazi was then CEO of in Lahore, in Pakistan. And the training program went really well. They were very, very pleased with the outcome. And so they asked me to become a marketing consultant with them. And basically, I would be spending a month in Lahore working on different aspects of marketing, whether it was brand identities or communication design or product development and innovation, new product launches, that sort of thing. And I was very, very pleased to say yes. It was a great way to start out. And then, I had an ice cream company from Iran that wanted my help to optimize their launch. They had launched a range of ice cream products that had failed miserably, and they wanted, to get that on track. And so, we were off to the races. It was great. Work was going well. Along with that, someone I had known back in the day came to me and wanted to partner with me on a training business in Dubai. So I said, sure, let's do that. So we set up a training business called Training Hotline, set up an office in the Dubai Knowledge Village, started working on that. And then I was approached by my friend at the time, Inam. He had an idea to launch the region's first battery replacement service for cars where, your car battery dies and they come and replace it, kind of like a AAA in the US. But at the time, there was nothing like that in Dubai, really. So I also started working on 800Battery, or the battery hotline. So you can see the trend. So let's talk about each one of these in turn. Brand Hotline started off really well. We had good clients who were working on interesting projects in Pakistan with Asian foods. We helped them to create 2 brands with sales in excess of $1 billion rupees in the first year of launch. Each, at that time, that meant $10 million in revenue because of the exchange rate, which was massive for Pakistan. There aren't too many brands in Pakistan that have $1 billion rupees in sales volume value. One of them was a brand of biscuit, and this was really a fascinating case study. There's a brand in Pakistan called Super, owned by the English biscuit manufacturing company EBM. They're basically the dominant biscuit brand in the country. At one time, Super alone represented 40-50% of the volume of the category. They've done a fantastic job of building the brand, and over the years, 10 companies or more have tried to break into the Super franchise and somehow, disrupt their business, and they've all failed miserably. So we set out scientifically to try and crack that. And so we did consumer research. We really dug deep. We asked people what they liked about Super, what they didn't like, were there any weaknesses, and so on. And based on that research, we found that sometimes the baking consistency of Super was a little questionable. Sometimes it was a little underbaked, sometimes a little overbaked, sometimes it was cracked. People didn't see it as a huge issue, but we thought we had an opportunity. Secondly, we asked people what they really liked in terms of flavoring. So we must have tested 10-15 different types of inclusions, from orange peel to poppy seed to lemon drops to apple shavings to banana pieces. Like, we tried everything. Chocolate, obviously, because it's a well done thing. The surprise winner in this in-home placement, we placed products in 100 homes for each variant of product we were testing. So we were talking about 1,500 to 2,000 homes that we tested the products in. So it was quite extensive. The surprise winner was cardamom, elaichi, as it's known in the subcontinent. So for some reason, people really liked the elaichi flavor in the biscuits, and it was really interesting. So we said, okay, so what do we call this thing? And then we said, if when you add cardamom to tea, it becomes special. When you add cardamom to biryani, it becomes special biryani. When you add cardamom to kheer, which is a dessert in the subcontinent, it becomes special kheer. So we said, okay, why don't we just call it special? And so, the tagline that emerged was, super se upar kya hota hai? Special hota hai. So, in translation, what is better than super? Well, special. And, new packaging and product launch. And the product delivered 1 billion rupees in sales in 10 months. And you've been successful when the market leader, a year after your launch, decides to launch super with elaichi. And the day I saw that billboard in Karachi, I literally started clapping. I was like, yes, they felt us. And so that was really exciting. And then the other billion rupee brand was in the confectionery category. There were a bunch of smaller products that had individual fruit flavors. So there was a banana flavor, strawberry flavor, guava flavor, apple, and so on. There were probably 8 or 10 products, and each one was literally called by the name of the fruit that it represented. So there were literally 10 so-called brand names and no master brand. So we created a master brand called Fruto, and the sales of the 10 put together basically crossed, we were able to promote them all together as a Fruto brand, and we created a nice little animated commercial, and sales of that brand went combined from 500 million rupees to 1 billion rupees in a matter of months. It was just beautiful. The consulting side is going really well. In Iran, we helped them. I brought in an ice cream expert from New Zealand. The gentleman came in and basically helped them to launch 20 new products. We worked on research to find out what their perception issues were. We built new advertising for them, new packaging. It was just classic. That program also started with a training program that was done for both the management board and the management team, as well as the sales and marketing team. So it was actually 2 training programs. I was training the board in the morning, and I was training the sales and marketing teams in the evening. And because the session was being conducted in Farsi, these 2 training programs took me 9 days. I was done. At the end of 9 days of standing and talking and delivery, it was exhausting. But the end result was we got to work together on some really cool stuff over a year, and it was going great. Training Hotline turned out to be a little bit of not a little bit. It turned out to be a total cluster F, and the reason for that was, and this is something that I learned when looking at any startup. If your co-founder relationship is not strong, you're dead. My co-founder in this particular venture turned out to be mentally unstable. It was, in hindsight, now that I look at it, it was the saddest thing. But at the time, I didn't know that that person had actually spent 2 years in a mental institution. And so I took everything that he said at face value because I'd known him when he was okay. And the end result was we took massive losses in that business. Massive losses. So this is now, we're talking about 2013, where three things happened. 2013 was the toughest year of my life, personally and professionally. On the consulting side, the company in Iran that I had been consulting for declined to make the last payment that they owed me because their currency, the Tuman, was devalued by 300% overnight, and they said, look, we just can't afford to pay you. And I didn't take it personally because they had paid me reasonably well for the last year, and I could understand where they were coming from. They still owe me that money, by the way, but it wasn't gonna change my life. It was still nearly $50,000, so not insignificant amount of money. The second big thing that happened was I had been working on helping a company from Kuwait acquire a food company here in Dubai. So I had sourced the company, I had done the due diligence, I had worked to close the deal. The original asking price was 22 million. I brought it down to 14.5 million plus $1.5 million of debt. So my commission on this 1 year's worth of effort was supposed to be 1%. And upon completion of the deal, the CEO of that company basically said, yeah, we're not going to pay you. You want to sue us? Come sue us in Kuwait. Good luck with that. And he was from Pakistan. He was a very well-known person in the industry. It was so bad. So now that's $160,000, which combined with the $50,000 becomes $200,000 of a loss in 1 year, right? And then in the same year, training Hotline goes belly up, and I'm in debt with that company to the tune of $150,000. That was the magnitude of the loss that I sustained. So December 2013 finds me clinically depressed, weighing in at about 100 kilos. I remember being on the scale and looking down and saying, what? 100 kilos is 220 pounds. I was beginning to develop all kinds of medical issues, and I was running around like a headless chicken trying to pay off my debts, because I was not gonna run away from all of this. I had to settle my debts. So at the end of the year, my wife came to me and she said, listen, we have got to sell our house. You can't go on like this. You're gonna die. We're gonna lose you. And it's just a house. And in South Asian culture, having to sell your house on which your wife's signatory on the house, it's like the height of shame. You have failed. You have failed in the most epic manner possible. The only thing worse is getting your wife to sell her jewelry. Thankfully, we never came to that. But yeah, so I reluctantly agreed. I couldn't see any other light at the end of the tunnel. So we sold our house in Canada. We had some equity built up in that. We used part of that equity to settle up with most of the debtors. And in 2014, I was lucky enough to find a job in Dubai working with the Al-Ittihad Credit Bureau. And I'll talk about that in the next video. But it took me another 2.5 years to settle my debts fully. And in 2016, June or July, it was Ramadan, we finally paid our last debt, installment, and I literally broke down and cried tears of gratitude for being able to, get past this hump. So, in the meantime, by the way, the 800Battery company that we had launched was doing really well. I was able to get a small exit from there. My partner wanted to buy me out, and I really, really needed the money at the time. So, I took an exit, and most of that money went to paying off creditors from the other two places. So, anyhow, an exit is an exit. I was grateful that that money came along when it did, and combined with the equity from the house, I was able to kind of stabilize the family finances, and then get things back on an even keel. The reason I wanted to talk about this today is because we don't talk about failure enough. You don't know what it's like to have to sell your house, and I hope you never find out. I was very lucky. 3 years later, I was able to buy my wife another house in Canada, and at least put a down payment towards another house in Canada. But the trauma, the PTSD that you get from having failed at such an epic level, where basically, if it wasn't for your family, if it wasn't for the very close circle of friends who really saw what you went through and supported you through that, you would have been a dead man. You wouldn't be here making a video today. That truism, whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, is something that I truly appreciate. Because now, I don't really get overexcited about success, but then I also don't get very fazed by failure, because it's like, what are you gonna do? Kill me twice? It's not gonna happen. So most of the people I work with, they're like, why are you so calm? You're always so calm. Are you on drugs? And I was like, yeah, it's the drug of life, right? Epic fails will either break you in half, or they will build you into something stronger and different than you were before. So, just wanted to share this journey. This was the start of my entrepreneurial journey. It's been 15 years since I started. These three were just the first three ventures. Did I bite off more than I could chew? Oh, definitely. Why do three things at the same time, right? Maybe I could have just done the consulting and the 800Battery, and this whole thing would have been different. Was I arrogant? Oh, hell yeah. Like, how arrogant do you have to be to believe that as a first-time entrepreneur, everything you touch is going to turn to gold? Of course not. I mean, but I meet people with that attitude every day. A blinding self-belief, which is fine to a certain point, but not to the point where you ignore danger signs and warning signs. So this has been a tough video to make. I hope you found it useful. I will talk obviously more about my entrepreneurial journey, because like I said, once you get bitten by that particular bug, there is no going back. There's no cure. There's no vaccination. There's no inoculation. You're infected for life. So entrepreneurs are generally made for life. So anyway, I'm still at it. I will talk more about the next phase of my journey with the Al-Ittihad Credit Bureau in the next video. In the meantime, let me know what you think, and I hope you found this useful. Have an awesome day. Bye for now.